Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new video. We just hit 33.4k subscribers. Can we get to 34k by the end of the month? Please like this video down below and subscribe to the channel before we get started. A lot of people might be asking, why is the audio quality a little different? And yes, it's true, my microphone has unfortunately broken yet again, but I still wanted to get videos out to you. So we're going to take a throwback back to July 2019 and go back to the old phone method just for a couple of videos. So hopefully the quality is not too bad. Again, I hope it's not going to be that big of a deal. It shouldn't be that big of a deal for a couple days. I'm not going to be able to go live for a few days, but I will be doing live streams a couple of times next week to make up for it. Anyways, guys, we are going to be doing the 2020 presidential election prediction, the best case for Donald Trump. This is something we have not done in a while, talking about what Trump's best case scenario will be and what it can be. And actually, I'm a little bit optimistic about Donald Trump. If you look at what happened in the past couple of days, you saw a Democrat representative from the state of Georgia coming out and endorsing Donald Trump for president. This was not an old conservative, typical Dixiecrat, maybe leftover from the 1980s, 1990s. This was an African-American representative from, I believe, the Atlanta suburbs coming out and endorsing Trump. Now, he's not a very popular representative, but it is a symbolic move, and it will be something that Trump will tout because he is bringing new people to the party. Another evidence that will show this is the people that like the stimulus checks they're getting. A lot of people are liking the stimulus checks that they're getting from Donald Trump, and a lot of people are praising him for it. Even Democrats. I'm not necessarily sure that they're all going to vote for him, but at the end of the day, it's cool that he might be able to get a few, maybe a few thousand voters based off of that fact alone, maybe even more than that. So that's kind of a cool thing at hand here. But we're going to start filling out this map. Obviously, Dakotas, Wyoming, Montana, Idaho, Utah, all going safe. Alaska, Louisiana, Arkansas, Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, West Virginia, South Carolina, Indiana, Missouri, Kansas, Oklahoma, Nebraska second, first, and third districts. Maine second would be safe in a best case scenario. Same thing with the state of Ohio. The great state of Ohio is probably going to go to Donald Trump in the safe column in a best case scenario, as well as the state of Iowa. If you look at these states, you can basically say they trended significantly into the Republican column. Some of the expert models are having them drift back a few points away from Trump. Even some of the ones that have Trump winning, like the Decision Desk model, have this actually happening, but it's very possible Trump could improve 1 point in Iowa and 1 to 2 points in Ohio, and he would win them by a safe margin. So now we're going to have to fill out these safe Democrat states here. California, Oregon, Washington, are going to be safe. Well, actually, never mind. Oregon in a best case scenario would be likely. Washington would still probably be safe. Hawaii would be safe. DC, Maryland would be safe. Massachusetts, Vermont would also be safe. New York would be safe, as well as the state of Illinois. So right now, the safe states, the Democrats only have 154, well, actually minus 7, 147 off of the safe column alone. Donald Trump would have 150. Now let's fill out this map. The other states, I think Texas actually would go to safe in a Donald Trump's best case scenario. It's very possible he could improve in Texas if you get third-party voters to come home. If you look at that one special election, the one that Biden said it's the bellwether, you had all this funding and spending for the Democrats, and the Republicans won it by 16 points. Well, you have to look in that and say maybe that's possible statewide if you look at trends, if the bleeding stops in some of the suburban areas. So it's very possible Trump could win Texas by 10 points. Do I think it's going to happen? Not necessarily. I think he'll win it by, 7 points, maybe 8 points at a best case realistic scenario, but this is more of the best case scenario, so we're going to have to put Texas in the safe column. Georgia and North Carolina would be likely. We've seen enough polls out of Georgia and North Carolina to determine the fact that they very well could go to Donald Trump by a likely margin. We've seen a lot of mixed bag polling from the state of North Carolina, as well as the state of Georgia. There's polls up in North Carolina and Georgia that have Trump up by roughly 7 percentage points, and that was the same poll that had Hillary winning at this point by 11. And that's kind of a left-leaning poll historically. It was relatively accurate for the midterms. We don't know which way it's going to lean in 2020, but nonetheless, you can look at it and say, hey, Trump's really got a fighting chance in North Carolina, unlike what some other polls say, and he'll probably will win it, in my opinion, by 3 to 4 points. He very very well could win it by 5 to 6 in a best case scenario. The state of Florida, in my opinion, will lean to Trump either way. I could put it in the likely column, but Trump's not running against Bernie Sanders, and Florida's always a close state. Even back in 2008 when Obama won pretty big over John McCain, he carried the state of Florida. It was only like a 2 to 3 point win for Obama, so I really would see Trump in a best case scenario winning it by 4. Maybe he would get 5, maybe he would get that likely margin, but I'll just err on the safe side and give Florida the lean column. The state of Arizona would probably be put in the likely column in a best case scenario, which actually we're going to move Florida back in the likely column. It's the best case scenario. Nevada probably would go in the lean column. If you look at what Trump needs to do to flip Nevada, it's very possible. He's going to have to do better work around the Las Vegas area as well as Reno and Carson City. And if he can max out his turnout in Reno, Carson City, stop the bleeding a little bit in Las Vegas, it's very possible that in a best case scenario, he could win the state of Nevada. Minnesota's a similar thing where you have a lot of Bernie bros that kind of feel disillusioned. You see a lot more percentage, in my opinion, from what I see on the online presence of people really unlikely to back Biden as much as some of these people even were to back Hillary. So I'm really not necessarily sure what the final impact is going to be. I don't think Trump is going to get a very big percentage of these voters, not much more than 10%, but a lot more will stay home. And you do have Howie Hawkins that's running as the Green Party ticket. So obviously you could look into things like that and say, hey, maybe Trump will actually, be able to carry the state of Minnesota by a, lean margin because Bernie Sanders was the preferred ticket. Joe Biden did eke out a win in the primary there, but Elizabeth Warren was on the ticket. You had other people that were, much further to the left than Biden running as well. So I think that the state of Minnesota will go to Trump in the lean column in a best case scenario. The state of Pennsylvania, we could do Pennsylvania. I did a map on Twitter. Make sure you follow me at Red Eagle Patriot. We're like 70 followers away from 9,000. So if you don't follow me, you're a communist. So make sure you go follow me there. But anyways, guys, the state of Pennsylvania in a best case scenario for Trump probably would go in the lean column. The lean column probably could as well. As I wanted to look at this map because you saw a lot of areas trend in the Republican column. However, you saw a couple areas in the Philly suburbs and one district in the Pittsburgh suburbs trend a little bit away from the Republican Party. But the majority of the state and where the majority of the state is actually did trend in the Republican column, which is very beneficial for Donald Trump come November. And if this trend continues, Biden, he might be from there. They say from there. He lived there less than Hillary did. And his energy stances are absolutely terrible for the state. So honestly, I don't think that Pennsylvania is going to go to Biden when it's all said and done anyways. I'm going to put it in the lean column, not the tilt column. In my regular prediction, it would be the tilt column. Similar thing with Michigan here. I don't believe Michigan I really don't think Michigan's going to go Democrat at the end of the day. I still think that there's a lot of angry people, fired up people. You saw it at the protest today against Governor Whitmer, as you could say. But honestly, I do believe that the state of Michigan is going to go to Trump at the end of the day. You have a lot of angry people here. That's not going to be the final determining factor. But a lot of people are saying, Michigan's going to flip blue. Well, apparently they didn't really realize what happened during the midterms, where you had lower rural turnout, where you had terrible candidate for governor running against our current train wreck, as well as the fact that you had a D+9 national environment. And right now, actually, Michigan voted to the right of the country. And I do believe that Michigan will vote to the right of the country again in November. And I do believe Donald Trump is actually going to go out there and win the state. State of Wisconsin, in a best case scenario, it would be likely. If you want to look at maps that I've done on my channel that I've put on Twitter, Trump beat Biden in this turnout game, despite not necessarily having a contested primary. He beat Biden by 3 percentage points. Yes, Biden did compete against Sanders, so it's a little bit of a false equivalency. But at the same time, I do believe that Trump could win the state hypothetically in a best case scenario by a likely margin. Now, the state of Delaware, The same thing for these 4 states for the Dems. If Trump, in a best case scenario, was to, win the popular vote maybe by 2 to 3 percentage points, a lot of these other states that are traditionally blue would get a little bit less blue. Biden would still win them. Yes, that includes Delaware, because Trump is going to go attack Biden on his track record as senator, and it's going to make people question their realities a little bit. Obviously, Biden is the hometown boy from Delaware, but still, home state advantage is not necessarily everything. Donald Trump failed miserably in Queens. He failed miserably in Manhattan, as you know, back in 2016. Maine's 1st district would be lean. New Hampshire, obviously, if you look at the trends, New Hampshire would lean red. Maine at large would probably lean red as well in this scenario. And that brings us the final 2 states, Colorado, New Mexico. Oh, we forgot about Virginia. In a best case scenario, Biden is still an establishment guy. He's probably going to have a good grip on Nova. So I wouldn't put it in, I'd put it in the lean D column, obviously. People talk about the state. People talk about what's happening with the gun violence initiatives pushed by the Dems that are a little bit too tyrannical to a lot of the Trump base in their view. But at the same time, it's not going to be enough, because you have that stranglehold of the state that holds it all together, and all that population is circulated in the D.C. metro area. So that leaves Colorado, and that leaves the state of New Mexico. So the state of Colorado, in my opinion, is probably in a best case scenario for Trump. I did a map about Colorado a while back, talked about how the rural trends are negatively affecting the Dems, but the suburban trends are just too strong. In the best case scenario here that we have, it's probably, this is definitely a tough call that I have to make. Assuming Trump, you would have a gain potentially of 1 to 2 points in some of these suburban areas. It still probably wouldn't be enough. I'm going to put Colorado in the tilt D column, as well as the state of New Mexico in the, well, I guess we're going to have to put I'll put New Mexico in the tilt Republican column, because this would basically assume that he's doing better with Latino voters. He's basically doing a lot better with other kinds of voters, independent voters. You look at the Gary Johnson voters in New Mexico, and you look at how much percentage of those would he have to win the election there. I believe he could potentially pull it off, because his policies actually have benefited the state of New Mexico the most. They had the best job numbers. They had the best this, that, and the other thing before what's happened now. But we could get that back very fast before the election, and Trump still has a right to tout those accomplishments. Nebraska 2nd district, probably in a best case scenario, lean to likely. I'll put it in the likely column. Trump beats Biden. Best case scenario, 333 to 205. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. Please like this video down below, comment down below, and subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Follow me on social media. Join the Discord and subreddit. Donate to the Patreon and subscribe. Star links in description. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Red Eagle, out.